prophets that God sent to his people in exile. And I think that we've all heard of our time, that in many ways the church is in exile here, in becoming more and more in exile, maybe in Western culture.
It's hard to do church when you can't gather very well.
Yeah. Can't gather, and then constant feeling like cranking down of what we can do and can't do. And to me, that just jumps out again. And you see the same thing in Isaiah and other places. But the justice is going to come. That God's not missing anything. And trying to put myself in the shoes of those folks in exile, and how hopeful that. I mean, I on the one hand, I'm sure you had the hawks who were just like, yeah, go get them, God, stomp on them. And then I think you probably had the other side who just took comfort in the reality that God hadn't missed it.
Yeah.
That he hadn't forgotten them, and that his heart was broken by the fact that he had to judge them, and that there was going to be justice eventually.
It's funny because it seems like the two complaints that people have about God, and we were watching a documentary on from Holocaust survivors, Holocaust children, survivors, and one of them talked about how with everything he'd seen, he really can't believe in a God. And it seems like on the one hand, people are mad because how can there be a God when all this junk is happening? And then it flips over to the other side, where how can you have a God in the scriptures or maybe in the Old Testament who's so judgmental and who's dealing with stuff? And it seems like on the one hand they're mad at God because there's stuff to be dealt with, and then on the other hand they don't like God because he's dealing with stuff. And I like the way you put it. He's dealing with stuff, and it's not that he wants to; it's that he has to. It's his heart. But justice comes, and I think the solution to why does God if there's a loving God, why is all this stuff happening? Is that God's actually pretty mad at what's happening, and he's fixing it. He's pouring out his wrath, which is actually a good thing, because if there's Nazis or child molesters or whatever, we want justice, right?
Yep. Well, and I think I continue to hear us try and engage this thing on a political level or on a whatever. And I just sense God saying in these verses, no, you guys take care of yourselves. You've got enough to clean up on your own stuff.
Let's not pin it on somebody else.
You let me take care of the politicians and the big corporations and Silicon Valley. And I'm not missing anything. I know what those people are doing. I know the evil that is there, and justice will come in those areas. Judgment will come. In my sense, even the fact that there was a repeated lament over Egypt, and I'm going to have to go back and spend. I mean, I'd forgotten about that, and so when I was just reading through it quickly to get ready for today, it's just like, wait a minute, why are we lamenting Pharaoh? I mean, these are the guys that you plagued to turn the Israelites loose, and yet here you are lamenting the fact that you have to judge and bring consequences again.
It's almost like he sees them as his children too, somehow.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, a little bit later, when he's doing the whole chapter on how each man is responsible for his own stuff.
Yeah.
God, in the middle of that, through Ezekiel, says, "Yeah, I don't take any joy in destroying anybody. That's not my heart." I think the thing that probably jumped out at me more than anything else were the number of times in those last few chapters when God said, "Then they will know that I am God." He would go through a whole section and end the section with, "Then they will know." Go back and think about idolatry. I think it's tougher for us because we're not bowing down to statues and sacrificing our kids in the same way down at Molech, but definitely in our hearts, I don't think it's hard to build an idolatrous picture of us as a.
Yeah. Well, our statues are football players and basketball players, and our Molech is Planned Parenthood.
That's exactly right. Well, and in the church, we have set up celebrities. I mean, I think that I have no problem saying that God has allowed and has brought on the recent crash and burn of so many celebrity preachers,
yeah,
or whatever, because I think I just think he's up in heaven going, wait a minute, I don't share my glory with anybody, and you guys are messing with it here, and then let it go to your head and get into sin and terrible stuff. And my sense is that God's just going, yeah, just keep doing that. Just keep putting people up on a pedestal and buying arenas and, building mega churches and see what happens. I mean, I think Billy Grahams are few and far between.
Amen.
Who know how to build the structure, the accountability.
Yeah. And stay humble somehow. See, I wonder if it's going to be like, maybe it won't be national people. It'll be the common pastor, preaching hope,
Yeah.
And of course we have, or maybe we're getting, maybe the watchmen that we're elevating are people that aren't going to be taken down by it, because they're people like Dallas Willard who have already passed on and were reading his books and watching his videos.
Right.
And so maybe it doesn't have to be the celebrity anymore. Maybe it's just the church being the church.